Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Real Estate Playbook. My name's Andrew, and today I wanted to jump straight into the topic of identifying the key differences between a pre-qualified buyer and an approved buyer. Now, I know in the real estate market, when it comes to shopping for homes and getting pre-qualified and approved, those terms are thrown around very loosely, and they can often be confused. And I want to just take the time to break down these just different components and show you essentially the pros and cons of each one. So let's just jump right into it here. So a pre-qualified buyer is essentially someone who has filled out a loan application and the loan officer's team has reviewed the documentation that they provided. They have reviewed the application and they're essentially saying that you are approved based off of what they have seen so far. So they're not sending your loan to underwriting. They're not having it processed. They haven't been put down the timeline that far. Essentially, they're just saying that from the information you've given us, you would be approved for this program at this interest rate at these loan terms. So again, very loose here in terms of, are you approved? It's kind of the first step of getting the ball rolling. And that's kind of what that means when you're pre-qualified. Now, when you're pre-approved, that means as a buyer, your loan application has been sent to processing, it's been sent to underwriting, and you are fully approved, right? You have met all the conditions that the underwriter has conditioned for, any sort of documentation they wanted to see, you've provided it, and they've seen everything they want to see, and they say, hey, you are good to go, double thumbs up, your loan is fully approved. And this is, the process you have to go through regardless to get a loan. But I guess what I'm illustrating here is doing it on the front end before you're under contract, right? These are really your two options when you're looking at financing before you place an offer. Now, let's break down some pros of when you may want to just get pre-qualified, right? Instead of getting approved. A big pro is it's very fast. So if you're someone who is just, casually looking at homes, then all of a sudden you see a home and you say, hey, I want to place an offer, you can usually get your pre-qualification letter, within a day or two, depending on who you're working with. So that's very quick. You can get that submitted here and then you can, place an offer usually that day or the next day, depending again, who you're working with. So very quick process. Number two, a big pro here is you can start the shopping process with your real estate agent. Because I know a lot of real estate agents, they don't want to take buyers out shopping unless they have an established budget. And essentially, they're just trying to put you into a situation so that everyone's expectations are correct up front here, and we're not over shopping over our value or vice versa. So again, you can start the shopping process. Not every real estate agent is going to require that, but most who are busy and successful. And, that's how that most people are going to operate their business because they don't want to waste their time or your time, which I totally understand and agree with here. They want to establish a budget. So get pre-qualified. You can start shopping. Lastly, maybe you're someone who just wants to, get a ballpark idea of where you stand, right? Maybe you're not going to buy a home for another 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever the case may be. This would be a great place to just get the ball rolling and understand where you stand. Where's your credit? Where's your income? Where's your down payment coming from, right? You're just sort of getting your ducks in a row so that whenever it is time to purchase that home, you're good to go. So that'd be great if you're just getting the ball rolling. A few cons with just getting pre-qualified is the accuracy is going to vary depending on who you work with. Every lending company is going to, do their pre-qualification letters a little bit different. And, some are going to do them more thoroughly than others. So you just don't want to have red flags missed here on the front end. And essentially that's, again, it's going to depend who you're working with and how thoroughly they're going through them. But a big con here is you could miss some big issues on the front end of your loan that could come back to bite you in the butt when you're under contract and there's timelines and deadlines, and ultimately you have your earnest money on the table, which we want to protect at all costs. So big con, you could miss some red flags up front. Another con is just adding more stress to the home buying process. Once you're under contract on a home, you're going to have the due diligence, you're going to have an inspection, right? You're going to be, lining up moving vehicles from where you're living to where you're moving. There's just a lot of moving pieces going on. And this is just one more thing that's going to add to it. So again, if you're okay with that, then no worries, but it is an extra thing you have to do on top of the other many tasks you have to do in, buying a home. So it's just one more thing that you got to add. Lastly, in my opinion, probably one of the more important ones here is when you're just pre-qualified, you're going to have a weaker offer when you're placing offers on a home. The reason for this is because if you're in a high offer situation, multiple offer situation, where there's, 10, 12, 15 offers on a home or maybe more, you're not really going to stand out when you're just pre-qualified. Because if everyone else is pre-qualified and so are you, how do you stand out besides offering the best price? Really at that point, you're just kind of fitting with the pack, and the chances of you winning that offer and purchasing the home that you've been looking at and that you've already had visions of moving into, it may not work out because you have a weaker offer. So that's kind of the lay of the land here for being pre-qualified. Now, if you want to take it one step farther here and be approved, this is the gold standard of, essentially, when you want to place an offer here. You're putting yourself in the most advantageous situation to win because your loan has been fully reviewed by an underwriting team. Like I mentioned, all the conditions have been met. You've supplied all the documentation you need, and you are good to go. Your loan is 100% approved. And what that does for you is it puts you in a situation where you're essentially a cash offer, right? You're essentially a cash offer when you're placing an offer on a home because your loan is already done. There's no question on whether or not it's going to go through because, again, you're 100% approved. And when it's already done, when you're 100% approved, you can close very quickly. So in most situations, the only remaining item that you're waiting for on the loan aspect is an appraisal. And, in most situations, that's going to take about a week to, a week or less to get ordered and get back. So again, you can move very quickly when you're wanting to close on a tight deadline. So that's a great pro there. Another big pro here is just having the confidence of knowing that your home and your loan is going to go through and you're going to get to own this piece of real estate when it's all said and done, right? You don't have to wonder, am I going to be good? Is this issue going to come up? Nope, you're already good. You're 100% approved and you can shop with confidence. There's a lot of peace of mind with that. Another big pro here is if there are any issues on your loan, we can get them addressed on the front end and get them taken care of, right? We're just being proactive about that. Another big pro, in my opinion, is just getting the hard work out of the way. Now, you're going to have to go through this process regardless, whether you get pre-qualified or approved. So I would just recommend that if you're someone who's in the market to buy a home and you've made the decision that you're going to buy a home, it's just a matter of when, let's just get the harder work done up front and save yourself that time and stress here once you're under contract. So just being proactive about that again. Now, a few cons with getting fully approved. Again, if you're going to do all the hard work up front, it's going to be more time. It's going to be more just ultimately time consuming to get that done because you're doing it on the front end. Lastly, it may be a little overkill for your situation. If you're someone who just wants to get a peek at their situation and start planning, this is going to be a little bit overkill because you're not going to be buying your home for a while. So those are kind of the key differences between a pre-qualified buyer and an approved buyer. But again, I just want to lay it out there and just break it down into simple terms. So whether you are a buyer, whether you are a real estate agent, or whether you're just helping somebody out who you care and love about as they're buying their home, you can help, share this with them and give them value when they're making their decision so they're in a situation to win. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support here and I appreciate you listening all the way to the end here. And if you know somebody who's going through this process right now, feel free to share this with them and hopefully bring value to their experience. But again, thank you so much and we'll see you next time.